6 o'clock. Okay, let's get started. Hello, my name is Joy Coleman. I'm the chair of the Historic Resources Commission, and it is 6 o'clock on July 17th, so let's get started. Avery, would you like to give preliminary information?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Just a couple notes before the meeting starts. Please silence your cell phones to minimize distractions during the meeting. When the chair calls for public comment, please approach the podium to indicate that you wish to speak. Virtual participants should use the raise hand function to indicate they wish to speak during public comment. Once your name is called, please unmute and turn on your camera to provide your comments. The primary format for accessing or participating in this meeting is in person at City Hall. Virtual access to view or participate in the meeting cannot be guaranteed. The chat function will not be monitored. If you have any trouble, the meeting can be viewed on the city's YouTube channel and cable channel 24/5. And with that, I'll turn the meeting back over to the chair.
Thank you. Now we'll do a roll call of commissioners. Do we do that first, or we have a new commissioner, it looks like?
You can introduce him and then do roll call if you want to.
All right, this is one of our new commissioners. His name is Stan Hernley. I think he's a return visitor to the commission.
I am. It's been a while.
Yes. So now we'll take a roll call. Commissioner Hernley.
Present.
Commissioner Klein.
Present.
Commissioner Buchanan.
Present.
And Chair Coleman is present, but Dearborn and Cunningham are absent. All right, moving to the first part, A, communications. Have we received communications from other commissions, State Historic Preservation Officer, and the general public?
We have no communications this evening.
Thank you very much. For commissioners, have you had any ex parte communications in the last 2 months?
No.
No. Great. And commissioners, any declaration of abstentions from specific agenda items?
I have a couple. So I'm going to, abstain on the consent agenda item 1. We have a project that's part of that group. And I'm going to abstain on regular agenda item number 3 because I'm a partial owner of the Delahunty complex. That is the reason for the review of that project.
Okay, so public hearing item number 1 and 3?
No, I'm sorry. So consent agenda item 1 and public hearing item 3.
Oh, okay.
It's not a declaration of abstention, but just a full disclosure. Eric Herter is my doctor, and he's one of the owners of number 1. So I don't have any interest in the group or anything, but he is my doctor. So, and I didn't even know anything about it until I saw it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Can we vote on consent agenda with 3 commissioners and 1 abstention? Yes, okay. All right, thank you for that. And I am thinking we have no committee reports this month, is that right?
We actually do have, we met with, it's more of a working group. It's not a committee for the Rice and Dowdale markers, and we're getting very close. My hope is that you will see them either on your August or September agenda. We're reworking a little bit of the language and adding a little bit more context. But the Watkins has agreed to host the QR code, and we're going to start out with an exhibit, an online exhibit that they already have, and add to that, and then we can keep adding content to it over time. So pretty exciting. We're getting close.
Yes. All right. Excellent. Okay. This evening, we have 2 consent agenda items, and we're going to take those separately since Commissioner Hernley is abstaining from the first one.
I will, do we have to move them separately? Okay, I move consent agenda from June, well, whichever the first one is. That we confirm the attached design review applications according to the standards information listed in the staff report for each administration, or each application, I mean. That was at the June 18 meeting initially.
Yes. Okay. I will second that. And we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Buchanan?
Aye.
Commissioner Klein?
Aye.
And Chair Coleman is an aye. And Hernley is
Abstain.
abstains, yes. So that motion passes.
And then I would go on to move the consent agenda for today's meeting based and confirm all the attached design review applications according to the standards and information listed in the staff report for each application.
Thank you, Commissioner Klein. I will second that motion. And we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Buchanan?
Aye.
Commissioner Klein?
Aye.
Commissioner Hernley?
Aye.
And Chair Coleman is an aye, and that motion passes. All right, moving on to public comment. If there is anyone here or online who has comment on items that are not on the agenda tonight, now is the time to speak. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to Part D, public hearing items. The first one is HRC 250011.
Sorry, I missed last month, and all of a sudden, I don't know how to do anything.
It's a perishable skill.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. Your first item this evening is for new construction on a property that is located in the context of the Witter S. McCurdy House on West 6th Street, and then also the historic Clinton Park on 6th Street. And if you remember when that property was listed, we just listed the historic part of the park and not over toward the school. And so, but the stairs and that area are all included in the listing. So this is the project site. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. The credit union is to the right on the screen, and then the street is here, and directly across the street is the historic district for Old West Lawrence. That's 2 blocks over, I'm sorry. But so this is the site shown on the site plan with both of the listed properties. Just throwing in a picture of McCurdy House so you can have some idea of compatibility issues. And then just because I like this photograph. This is the site plan that the applicant has proposed. Well, if I can stay on it, there we go. The applicant has proposed, it's a little over 3,000 square feet. It will be a doctor's office, so when you're designing a contemporary doctor's office, there are things that are required for their particular use that you might not see in other commercial structures. Like, for example, the height of the windows, and if it's an examination room. So with this design, the applicant has turned the face of the building toward the south, toward the parking lot, and this is actually more of a rear facade that faces 6th Street. And then there's some detailing on the east side toward the McCurdy house, and then kind of when you're looking across toward the park. This is the primary elevation, so it's this south elevation that's facing the parking lot. And we did work with the applicant a little bit to try, because one of staff's concerns is the sense of entry, and also the way that the building is facing into a parking lot, which is more of a suburban design that we don't typically see in historic context areas. So the architect was able to do a little bit of redesign on the corner of the building over here, so that you do have a sense of where the entry to this building is. Even though it's facing the parking lot, it's clearly denoted that this is the entry. And this shows it along the side street, so that here you can also tell this is a larger portion of the building where emphasis is made on this elevation. This is the north elevation. As I mentioned, the windows are a little bit atypical, certainly for the context area, but they are typical for a modern doctor's office building. And then here's the west elevation. It does have a metal roof, and then you'll see that the stone and the lap siding are on all 4 sides. So it is really 4-sided architecture. The only concerns are that the door is facing the parking lot. So we have concerns about the directional expression and then the mass of the structure because of the way it's designed. And so staff is recommending that the applicant work with the Architectural Review Committee to look at things that might help that sense of entry, or help it denote either on 6th Street or on the side street, which, you know, if there is an opportunity to better meet that design guideline. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions you may have.
It is in the context area of the McCurdy house and the historic Clinton Park, but not the Old West Lawrence?
Correct.
Any other questions for Lynn?
I tried to find some history of the lot and couldn't find when the houses were destroyed, you know, ages ago. So I think it was someplace in the 20th century, but yeah, so it's nice to have it filled in.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? And would you like to say anything? You don't have to.
I don't have to get up here?
You don't have to.
Well, anyway, I stand. I'm Fred Schneider. I'm the architect on the project. I worked with 2 doctors and the administration, people who run the building. Anyway, it was a tight site. It's very limited. We're on the setbacks on all 4 sides. We tried to follow a plan. I sat down with the doctors and we defined how they work, the patterns of how they work, and the floor plan was just a gimme. We could not change it much because of the way they work. So we took that, and the form follows function. In other words, we let the function tell us how to set the building up. And we just basically went to 4 different sides of the building, tried to do them slightly differently because they all demand a different approach and view. And then, of course, we're limited to just the fact that the parking lot was required to be on the south side of the lot, and that the doorway, since people are coming in possibly ill, in a wheelchair or whatever, we put the handicap parking right to the front door and made a very open entryway so that it's seen. Also, the corner of the building is glass. We did about a 15-foot, or I did about a 15-foot high area. The people at the the doctors at the building occasionally have meetings where they have a group of people, so we tried to make an entryway where we have a waiting area that is responsive to that. They sometimes do little, I guess, exhibitions for food or medicine, and this hopefully would take care of that requirement. The rest of it is basically just a loop of hallways, and obviously it fills both sides of the hallway. In other words, it's like a galley. So anyway, those were the requirements, and we stayed with that. And I've listened to Lynn, and I met with her a few times, and I agree with her. I think it would be best to probably speak with an architectural review committee and try to define or maybe refine the work a little bit more. And I'm in agreement with that. We've been working on this for quite a while, so I'm ready to see if we could come to a solution. And that's about all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's any public comment on this item, now would be the time. Okay, seeing none. Commissioners, would you like to discuss, or we could
Sure.
hear a motion to?
I'm ready to move unless you want to discuss.
No, I think it'd be worth a little discussion. I have a question, I guess, for you, Fred.
Yeah.
If you come back up. So, have you discussed with the doctors the potential to get the primary entrance on the east side versus the south side? I know sidewalk issues and distance
The
to
existing
accessible.
sidewalk is brick.
Yeah,
You
I
have to
know.
pull all the brick and then redo it and everything.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
We do have a bit of a slope coming up into the site. And it just seemed that the care of the individuals that are using this property are more important than facing a door to the east. You know, behind the building are just basically lines of residential structures. And they, granted, most of them all have doors that face the east or to the street. There's a couple of them that don't, but I just didn't think that was apropos. I think this is more to the 6th Street element and a commercial aspect with maybe not a traditional design, maybe a little bit more contemporary. So that's why we just put that over there. I just think somebody coming in a wheelchair, or I don't think they come in actually in a gurney or something, but it would really behoove us. Plus, in the first meeting, Lynn mentioned that I could show you my design sketches. I've designed the building 4 times, and I've got different levels of it.
Have you gotten paid 4 times?
Some of the, no, I'm going to get a nice check, hopefully. But Lynn had mentioned that my entryway wasn't defined properly, so I redesigned it on her comments, and that's why we made it taller and wrapped it with a little bit of this white limestone, which would really show you where you're at. Plus the fact that the corner of the building wraps around, so no matter what direction you're coming from, I think you'll just notice you're at the entryway, or where the entry is.
So if we decided to send this to the ARC, what kinds of things are you thinking you might propose, and what things are flexible and what things might not be?
Stan, the thought is that the activities in the building dictate what the elevations look like. And also just the fact of the materials. We're using stone in the more private areas, glass in a public area, small windows in the limestone, just the panels in maybe the office work. And we've kind of tucked the 2 doctors' offices to the back of the building where there's a little bit more of privacy. So those were just the thoughts. I think that what we need to do maybe is, I've got all my material boards and colors. The doctors, the 2 gentlemen that will be working in the building, they've gone and looked at a lot of doctors' offices here in town, and they told me where to go and everything. So some of the design reflects what they wanted. I had a different design that I thought was some of my better work, but they didn't like it in the fact that they didn't think it may be resellable because it was kind of angular and had some angled roofs and stuff. So anyway, we went with them, and that's why we sort of have the tower look in the front door as it is.
Would you be open to reducing the number of materials?
Yes, you see, I've used 6 different materials on this property. And we were just trying to, obviously, I was taught not that all 4 sides of the building aren't the same. And we tried to reflect those, but yeah, and then the colors, the doctors, and Deanna Bowman is one of their associates who does a lot of their administrative work. And she and the doctors went around and they picked some of the colors, and I let them just do that on their own. They're going to be there every day, I'm not. And I think what they picked were decent work, but I would like to review that. I'd be happy to sit down and review it. I think the roof, I think there was a comment about the roof and the fenestration, about the windows. And obviously, I'm not going to do a hung window in the thing. It's a commercial property. And also, just the roof itself has to be fairly, we didn't want it to dominate, so we kept it at a lower slope, and then just made a bi-pitch roof, which is similar up and down the street. Actually, the first 2 houses right to the south of the project have similar roofs. If you, I didn't bring my pictures, I didn't bring my whole design package, but
I think there are some,
we could look at some of that if you'd like.
at least one commercial building that is in the context area that has a flat roof.
Yes. Well, we wanted to keep it simple, and
Yeah.
I don't want a flat roof if I have to.
Okay.
Don't have to have it.
I guess what I would be interested in seeing is if there's any potential to get the entry at the corner versus away from that
Yeah,
corner.
well,
I know it's not.
You get a direct entry into the building, but it seems that you'd be splitting the
I know, that's the waiting room.
conference area where they
Yeah.
try to have presentations. They'll have 20 or 30 people in the building sometimes for just in an evening.
Oh, and they do that in
Talk
the,
about food and wine.
do they do that in the waiting area?
Yes, just
Oh,
a
I
waiting
see.
area there. They'll actually use the countertop where you come in and meet a receptionist. They use that to line up all their,
Gotcha.
I should say, their foods and wines and stuff, and then they turn and present it to this group.
Well, I think if we go to the ARC, I would be interested in seeing some potential options for the entry, maybe the entry restroom waiting area
Yeah.
configuration, and maybe some things can move around at that point. But yeah, I understand we don't really want you to use the brick sidewalk, and it's kind of redundant to try to get a new sidewalk close to between the brick sidewalk and the building. And so, but if there was a way to get the entrance at the corner, it'd be worth at least seeing that. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't
We
work.
could sketch it, and
Yeah.
take a look at it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's possible, and I agree. I think we should maybe review the materials. I think the scale is correct. I'm only at 15 feet on the top there, and I think it matches most of the stuff up and down the street. I'm pretty confident. I know that there's the 10 major design elements in the development code that we have, and I've tried to reach most of all of those. And the thing is though, I think why we're questioning about the windows, the roof, and then the entryway, were the 3 things that came up out of that.
Okay. That's all I've got.
Is that it?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Does that change your motion?
No, not at all.
Would you like?
Yes, I would move that we refer the project to the Architectural Review Committee to identify possible design solutions to mitigate the directional expression, sense of entry, and mass of the proposed structure while achieving the applicant's overall project goals.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Klein and Commissioner Hernley. We'll take a roll call vote. If there's no discussion, no, doesn't look like it. Commissioner Buchanan,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
Commissioner Klein, aye?
Commissioner Hernley,
Aye.
and Chair Coleman is an aye. Motion passes. We'll see you at the Architectural Review Committee.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is it held here at the conference room here in the...
In City Hall.
It's not because we got to lay out all our
Right.
drawings, we got to talk. Okay. I'll wait to hear from you then, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, HRC 250013.
So this is a little bit of a unique project. We had a discussion when the building located at 1041 New Hampshire Street came before you for a demolition permit without a replacement plan. And we talked about some of the things that the building owner was trying to plan to do at this site. And one of the concerns was that it would sit there empty. Well, it has, and the owner is still working toward the development that he wants to put on the lot. He's committed to developing the lot, but he would like to see it perhaps gain a little income in the couple of years it's going to take him to get through the process to apply for a new building permit. So we are looking at the vacant lot at 1041 New Hampshire Street. This is a certificate of approval because it's in the context area of three very significant historic structures. It's also located in the Downtown Urban Conservation Overlay District and subject to the Downtown Design Guidelines. And then you'll also note that you will be reviewing and commenting on the use permitted upon review or the special use permit for this to be a parking lot. This is the project location outlined in this light blue color. It is this entire property, and if you've been down New Hampshire or 11th Street or Mass, you've probably seen it lately. This is the new construction of the New Hampshire Street Lofts, and this is from the alley looking back toward the east, and you'll see the church here. And here's the church on your right and the new construction. So you're standing adjacent to the Judicial Law Enforcement Center looking toward the north. And then you're standing here in front of the church looking toward the west, and you can see the Watkins in the background, and you can see the courthouse in the background. And then this would be the parking lot. They're not proposing to remove street trees or change the grassy verge. They want to just use it as a parking area until they can construct a new structure. But the difficulty with that is that because it's temporary and because the type of covering that they're requesting to use and the fact that they don't have any landscape or lighting, it doesn't meet almost any of the guidelines in the downtown design guidelines. In chapter 22 for the context review, we really don't get into parking lots. We talk a little bit about surface change. So there's not really distinct criteria that this parking lot would not meet. I know Avery is working on the special use permit. The city has concerns about the surfacing of the parking lot and whether or not that's appropriate in the city. And I've had some concerns from Parks and Rec about not having any landscaping there and having it just be this big blank open space on the corner. So with the downtown design guidelines, and the Downtown Historic District, and also with the downtown plan that we did a few years ago, if you recall, this property is meant to have structure. It is not meant to be a parking lot. So staff looked at all of these things and then spent a lot of time talking to the owner and about how long this would be vacant. And came to the conclusion that he really is. I mean, he has some designs, but they have changed several times since the previous building was demolished. And so he's really looking for that right fit. And this is a super significant corner because of the three landmarks and how to make something blend in and be useful. So when I looked at the certificate of approval, like I said, we really don't have design guidelines for a parking lot and how this would damage the historic properties, because there's no structure going in that's not compatible. The certificate of approval doesn't really talk about, blank spaces and how they impact the listed properties. And so staff was considering that it might be appropriate for this, if it's going to sit here anyway for the next 3 years, that perhaps it would be better if it were being utilized than just being fenced off with nothing there. So looking at the certificate of approval, staff is recommending that you approve the proposed project. And then with the downtown design guidelines, it just doesn't meet the downtown design guidelines. But in that document, there is, at the front of the document, it talks about the commission being able to look at the entire situation, and if there are extenuating circumstances, that you can approve something that doesn't meet the letter of the guidelines, as long as you are vocal about what those circumstances are. Why would you approve this? What is your rationale for not making it meet the guidelines? And then I know a lot of times the commenting on the special use permit is usually done under miscellaneous items. I went ahead and put it with this item because I did want you to, see it and know about the downtown plan, not wanting this to be a parking lot. I think it's actually slated for a 5-story building in the plan. So in looking at that and being able to give comment to the Planning Commission and the City Commission on that special use permit. And so all in all, staff is supportive of this being a parking lot as long as it's temporary. And for that, after talking with the applicant, that would be 2 to 3 years, just because that's where they are in their development phase. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions you may have.
So, Lynn, do we know who will be able to park in this parking lot?
I believe it is intended for Maselli's.
So is that 24/7 for Maselli's? Is that...
whether or not there would be public parking.
Right.
They have not given us a business proposal for the use.
It would not be public parking.
It's just for Maselli's, right?
There may be more users than just Maselli's, but that would be sort of a range. It wouldn't just be open to the public. Even after hours, it would be restricted.
Okay.
And what happens at the end of 3 years?
Well, if you do the certificate of approval with the condition that it's only for temporary use for 3 years, at the end of those 3 years, it's no longer approved, and they would have to come back to you for continued use as a parking lot or for a new structure or a new use or whatever that may be.
What's the process of enforcing that? Is it the city's responsibility in July of 2028 to say, whoop, 3 years is up? Okay.
Yes.
Or a citizen could bring it to the attention of
Yes.
the commission? I'm just asking because I designed a temporary parking lot 25 years ago in East Lawrence, and it's still there.
And it's still there.
To date, they've used this as a construction staging kind of construction parking lot, right?
Yes, it's been a staging area, and that's why, if you recall, when they did the demolition permit, that was one of the reasons they wanted to go ahead and tear the building down so the street wouldn't have to be closed for the duration of the building.
So the owner of this property is the same as the owner across the alley, correct?
Across the alley,
Yeah,
and then
okay.
also across New Hampshire Street.
Yeah. Has the owner talked about sequentially developing these properties, or is one going to go before the other, or?
We've actually discussed two plans. One plan was that they would be developed separately, with the New Hampshire having a structure similar to the Lofts across the street. The other one was, you probably saw in the newspaper, is a hotel that would incorporate both sites.
Oh, okay.
So it would all be one project.
Okay.
And inversely, if they wanted to start the development the next year or 2 years instead of waiting 3 years, would that be,
Yes, they can do that.
they can do that? Okay.
Sooner the better, I think.
It's been empty forever anyway.
Well, kind of.
Well, it's been empty, you know, when the Allens.
Even when there was a building there, it was pretty
Yeah,
empty.
It's been empty.
Yeah.
I think there were some typewriters in there from Watkins.
Okay. Is the applicant present?
Ish.
Would you like to say anything?
Hello. I'm Steve Maselli. And Tony approached me a couple months ago asking if I had any interest. And of course I do, but not just for parking. As you know, I was surrounded by derelict Allen Press lots and buildings for almost 2 decades, and I was waiting for this day to come. You all probably know that I had parking across the street from Maselli's. That was Allen Press. When I had possession of that property, it was well landscaped, it was maintained, the trash was picked up, it was very nice. I trimmed the trees, it was great. I spent a lot more money on maintaining that lot than I did on my lease payments. And then as soon as I no longer had control of that parking lot, it all went to hell. And you all remember, I'm sure the same thing is for this parking lot. If someone does not control it, it will be used as parking by the general public. There will be no control. It will be trash. No one will take care of it. I can guarantee that. And I have a stake in making sure the properties around my life investment are taken care of. So I am super excited that Tony has built this building across the street. I hope that this hotel comes sooner rather than later. And the whole block is just going to become a gem of downtown. So yes, the parking is kind of a temporary use, but it's also a way for me to have active involvement in that property, to maintain it so it looks pseudo-acceptable in the meantime, if that makes sense. That's all I need to say. Any questions for me?
So, Steve, what kind of activities do you have during the day? I know I see some early morning people showing up and various times of day. So.
Yes, I have a group that meets on Thursday morning at 6, 7 o'clock, and I feed actually Commissioner Buchanan's husband. I feed him bacon every Thursday morning. And, lots of groups. And it just keeps growing because, I leased that building for well over 10 years. Mm-hmm. So I paid for it one time. Mm-hmm. And then we bought the building. Now I'm paying for it a second time. And last year, we borrowed yet another big chunk of change to incorporate all the former Scotch office spaces, the store, and Cottonwood areas. So that building has really, it was a commercial laundry facility when I, soon after, before I took it over. And before that, it was a drive-through lumberyard. So, and all that has been done with my money, my credit. And so, I'm sorry, what was the question?
During the week,
so
during
really,
the day.
I will take anybody who will help me pay my mortgage within reason. Yeah.
So in the long run, have you spoken with the owner about including potential parking in the developments on the adjacent land? Or what? So what happens when those lots get built? It's not really pertaining to this, but...
Right now, my clients park in the street, and they park in the parking garage.
Right.
But New Hampshire has become very populated. Mm-hmm. That parking garage across from the Arts Center is in a very busy area. Mm-hmm. There are some times where it just gets more full than it did 10 years ago. In an ideal world, if there was a gigantic hotel on the corner, there would be a parking garage on the corner there of some sort, maybe on the bottom, just like I've seen them in Kansas City. And people would walk across the alley on a little skyway. And that would help serve the hotel, the courthouse, Maselli's, and some other things. People keep talking about infill, infill, infill. Well, we have to have parking for that infill. We want to eliminate the surface lots in downtown. We're going to have to build parking garages. And from a person who's lived on this property, in this block for 20 years, it is prime for that kind of structure.
So you, if a proposal came forward for those adjacent properties, you would be in support of
course,
providing some parking, even though it's not required.
Yeah, but it's not my choice. I mean, I've been playing Powerball for 10 years, hoping that I would get enough money so I can buy the property from Rand Allen.
Yeah.
You know, for many years, Rand Allen thought he was going to look for the white horse to come in and develop the whole property in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's going to happen in parcels that can be managed by developers. So I'm glad Tony is doing what he's doing. He's doing it as he can do it.
Yeah.
And remember, you don't just build for no reason. You have to have either a client or you have to have a realistic project that will make money. And I've been waiting a long time for this, so I'm very pleased. So when my clients get mad, I don't say mad, they're like, I don't mind sweeping the dust. I have to blow the construction dust every single day. I don't care. I have to wash the windows several times a week. I don't care. When I look across the street, I see progress because I remember it was in my blood. I saw it every single day, the horrible properties that used to surround us. So honestly, going back, I was very pleased when you allowed the demolition of those buildings because by making it a blank canvas, the city, the owners, potential developers can see and maybe envision what it could be. A lot of people in our city don't have the kind of vision that you all might have, that I might have. They just saw that property. So I'm glad it was torn down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
I lost my place. Did we call for public comment?
No, you need to.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? No? Okay. Well, I know this body doesn't typically approve parking lots, but we already have a parking lot because we allowed the building to be torn down, which we needed to do because it was falling down and it was a hazard. And it is currently a parking lot, a temporary parking lot. So I think that this improvement for 2 to 3 years is okay, but you don't want it to be 25 years. So the special use permit, are they always 3 years? Is it up to the city to make that?
It just depends on the use and the property owner and what the, project is. Like for some, we used to have them renewed every year. And then we realized that because it takes so long to get through the process, when you got approved, you had to start for the next year. So we typically don't do them for less than 2 or 3 years because of the process.
Yes, that makes sense.
So how long does the process usually take? So is it 6 months? Is it 2 months? Is it?
Well, as you know, it depends on the complete application and how fast things get turned back around. And I know we've been working on this one for a while because there's so much concern about the surfacing. And I want you to be aware that that surfacing may change as they continue through the special use permit process because our engineers are not supportive of it right now. So we're still working some things out with the special use permit as far as the surface material goes and how long the SUP would run, things like that. Anything else, Avery, that I'm forgetting?
I think surfacing, potentially access to the lot. Right now, it comes off of the side street when it should be the alley.
Right.
Okay, so,
The entry to the lot might not be as reflected in the plans. Okay.
Correct. It may move to off the alley, which would be staff's preference anyway.
Do you mind?
Sure.
Go ahead.
come up so you're on the mic.
As a resident and a commercial user of that alley, I brought it to staff's attention that this is a one-way alley. And if they pull into the alley to get into the lot, that works. But when they have to come out of the alley, they have to keep going north. And there are always commercial vehicles, there are bands.
So
and
that
would be
alley's one way-
problematic. That really would
is
not work for
one-way
the general
north.
public
Okay.
to use, or, so,
So,
that's a different,
yeah, so engineering's looking at that?
Yes.
Yeah, so it would be feasible for the, sort of, to combine the entrance and the alley together for a short distance, and then the alley could still be one-way north, and as you're coming out, you could go south. And we don't want to, so it's not, we're not engineering, but just knowing what happens in the alleys, we don't want to force people to try to go north in that alley. We want them to come out onto 11th Street. At least I do. So. And just kind of seeing the parking lot in its, or the lot in its current condition, when it's dry, it's not a problem. When it's rained a lot, it does hold some water and it pumps some, and it gets pretty mushy. So, engineering, I think, has some legitimate concerns. 3 years, it could get pretty messy, but Steve's not going to want muddy boots coming into his facility. So I trust it'll be fine.
Trust
Yeah.
engineering to do that.
Yes.
All right, any other discussions? I'd be supportive of all of the proposed actions here, if it's for just 3 years, and it comes up again for approval if nothing has gone in, because you don't know what,
Yeah.
the market's what's gonna happen with the market. Would love to see a building on there as soon as possible.
And I'm in favor also. I would suggest that if it looks like it's going to run longer than 3 years, that the process to renew the SUP would happen before the end of 3 years, so that if it needs to be extended, there's not a gap where it's out of compliance. So that's my comment.
Okay. All right, I'll take the first one. I move that we find that the proposed project meets the standards of review in Chapter 22, Section 22507, and Chapter 22, Section 22508C3D, and issue a certificate of approval for the proposed project with the condition that this is for a temporary use for 3 years.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Buchanan?
Aye.
Commissioner Klein?
Nay?
Commissioner Hernley?
Aye.
And Chair Coleman is an aye, so we have 3-1, and the motion passes. All right, so then I'll make another motion I move that we determine that after examining the whole situation and the extenuating circumstances, the HRC approves the project even though it does not meet the letter of these guidelines, the downtown design guidelines, because the use and materials are only proposed for 3 years while the owner determines the future structure for the site...
And I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Buchanan,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
Nay?
Commissioner Hernley,
Aye.
and Chair Coleman is an aye. That also passes 3-1. And finally, I move on the special use permit that the temporary nature of 3 years for the proposed parking lot is key to the HRC approval, and that the downtown plan and downtown design guidelines support a structure at this location and not a parking lot. But I move that we approve the special use permit.
You don't have to approve the special use permit. You're making comment to the Planning Commission and the City Commission.
Okay, then I move that we make that comment.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Commissioner Buchanan,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
I'm trying to think. So this is, we're agreeing to comment, add this comment to the, because the downtown plan does not support a parking lot, is my position. So, yes, let's do the comment.
okay? So that's an aye. Commissioner Hernley
Aye.
and Chair Coleman is an aye. That motion passes 4-0. Thank you for taking care of parking lots.
Thank you much.
All right, moving on to the next agenda item.
So this is the one I'm abstaining from, so
Yes,
I'll leave
You'll
for a
step
little while. Yep.
this is number 3 of the public hearing items, HRC 250014.
So this is one of those rare times when Lynn gets up to the podium and says, sometimes you just have to let it go. And unfortunately, this is one of those times. This is a demolition request for the accessory structure located at 1124 Rhode Island Street. It is a certificate of approval, but it is also a state law review because it is listed as a contributing structure to the North Rhode Island Street Historic Residential District, listed in the National Register of Historic Places. The commission actually touched on this structure several years ago when a rehabilitation project was taking place for the primary structure. And at that time, there was hope that this structure could also be rehabilitated in the future, and that project never took place. So here's the location of the structure in the light blue with Rhode Island here on the left of the screen, and then it does have alley access here at the east side of the property. And this is just a site plan to show you the relationship between the house and the accessory structure and where it sits on the lot. And then we just provided a few photographs so you could see the condition of the structure. In staff's opinion, it is in such poor shape, it no longer contributes to the historic district because you, in addition to architecture or history or one of those criteria, you also have to have integrity. And this structure, in staff's opinion, no longer maintains that integrity to be considered a contributing structure. You can notice the sag in the roof, quite a lot of biological growth and rot. Here again, you can see some more of the rot on the structure and how it's leaning. And again, you can see some of the rot and leaning of the structure. It's kind of racked, so it's leaning both north-south and east-west. And here is a photograph of the interior of the structure, and you'll notice that the structure roof system has been compromised. So staff is recommending that you find that the proposal does meet the standards of review for a certificate of approval for demolition of an accessory structure because the condition renders this structure non-contributing to the context area. And also, we don't have the strict criteria for an accessory structure for the certificate of approval as we do for a primary structure in the context area. And then for the state law review, kind of piggybacking on that, staff is of the opinion that the existing structure condition renders it non-contributing to the district and that it should be removed because it is to the point where it is a health and safety concern for the neighborhood. And I'd be happy to stand for any questions you might have.
I have a question. If the, now I'm losing the words, the code, the maintenance code, does that apply to accessory structures?
Our environmental code that the city has adopted that has property maintenance in it? Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Lynn? No? Is the applicant present?
Eric J. with Struct Restruct. Yeah, to touch on maybe something you're pointing out about the maintenance. The reason I'm here is to represent the new owners that purchased the property in the last 6 to 8 months. We did the project for the previous owners, I think, back in 2017. And like Lynn said at the time, we were debating whether to renovate the structure at that time, but the clients just couldn't afford to do it. They sold the property. The new owners feel like it's a safety hazard, and so that's why they contacted me because we had done work on the property. They don't have any immediate plans, but they hope to build a garage in the next 3 to 5 years. And it's definitely gotten worse since 2017. There's not a foundation, and it's a dirt floor. There's no anchor bolts tied to anything. That's partly why it's leaning so poorly.
It was built without a foundation?
Yeah. Or, I mean, it's marginal, yeah. There's no solid foundation. Mm-hmm. There's a plate sitting on the ground, basically. And there's a lot of rot around the perimeter. Mm-hmm. So I think Lynn said you guys maybe went by there and took a look at it, and it's in pretty bad shape.
Okay.
Vegetation's happy.
That's true. It might be structural.
Yeah.
It may be what's holding the structure up.
Probably, because that stuff is strong.
Yes. Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of deferred maintenance, unfortunately. And there was when we did the project back in 2017. So.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Is there any public comment on this item? No? Okay, commissioners, what do you think?
I move, I'm trying to read this, in accordance with the Secretary of Interior's standards, the standards of evaluation, approve the project and make the determination that the project does not damage or destroy any historic property included in the National Register of Historic Places or the State Register of Historic Places, because the condition of the existing structure renders it non-contributing to the district, and it is a health and safety concern. Except for the vegetation. Never mind.
Thank you. I second that motion. And we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Buchanan,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
Aye.
and Chair Coleman is an aye. So that motion passes 3-0. And I will move that we find that the proposed project meets the standards of review in Chapter 22, Section 22507, and the design criteria in Chapter 22, Section 22508, and issue the certificate of approval for the proposed project because the condition of the existing structure renders it non-contributing to the context area. It's lost its integrity, and it is a health and safety concern.
Commissioner Klein seconds.
Thank you. Commissioner Buchanan,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
Aye.
and Chair Coleman is an aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Good luck. All right, moving on to item number 4, public comment. Item number 4, COM 250088.
This is also a request for demolition for the structure that's located at 1420 Crescent Road. The property is located in the context area of the Calmega House, located at 1345 West Campus Road. Typically, we encourage people, it's part of the certificate of approval in Chapter 22, to have a replacement structure proposed when you're proposing demolition. This is a little unique in that we don't have a finalized project here, and so the staff report went through an analysis for you and also included a little bit about the building. This is the property location. Here is the building, and then the parking lot goes along with the building, and the Calmega House is directly to the east. It is the adjacent property. And this is a photo of the Calmega House. So you can see when they did the remodel, they did pick up a little bit on some of the detailing from the Calmega House. This was when it was rehabilitated and changed for McLean's Market a few years ago. It has been sitting vacant for some time now. And we'll just walk around the building quickly. This is the east elevation that's adjacent to the Calmega House. And here's the rear elevation. And this is actually pretty much the only view that you can see some of that original building. And then another view of the rear, and then this would be that west elevation. So you can kind of see the remnants of the historic building, and this is about the only detail that's left of that building. And just a couple of shots of the interior to show you that all the historic finishes have pretty much been removed. There are new wood features of a modern age when it has been rehabilitated several times by the Jayhawk bookstore when it was there, and then also when McLean's took over the space. So there's been a lot of change to the interior, some in room shapes, but mostly it's that none of the original features are there. And just showing you another view of some of the interior. And this is a photograph from 2014 when it was the Jayhawk bookstore, and they are the ones that put on the faux mansard roof with the little peaked dormers, but you can see a little bit of the building behind it. But the entire front of the building has been altered. So staff went through some analysis and looked at the criteria in Chapter 22, and one of the criteria is that demolition may be approved if the structure does not contribute to the context area. And when staff was looking at the architecture of this building and what it was historically and compared to what structures exist in the context area, and particularly the Calmega Omega House. Staff is of the opinion that this structure, because of its alterations, does not contribute to the context area, even though it does have significant history for the university and also for the city of Lawrence because of its commercial retail uses over the years. It has lost a lot of its integrity, particularly on the interior, and then, of course, on that main facade where it has been rehabilitated at least twice. So this is one of those times when you say, okay, if the building's going to go, what's going to go back in its place? And that's where we really want to have those replacement plans. And staff included some information in your packet. The endowment now owns the property, and they have taken a really hard look. The information's in your packet of reusing this structure, and because of the condition of the structure and also their programming, this structure just does not work for what they need to do on the site. They are in the process of hiring an architect, and I don't know if y'all have... Okay, so Monty's going to speak to the architect. But so they are in the process of putting structure on the site, and they do have a financial commitment so that they can do that. They just don't have the final drawings here this evening. So with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions that you may have.
So they're saying that they want to tear it down and build something else, but they're not ready to propose the new building.
Right, and one of the reasons to go ahead and get the demolition permit is they were trying to do that when the students weren't around to save from the road being closed and the bus traffic and the pedestrian traffic. So they wanted to go ahead and get the site ready so that when they are able, they can move forward.
So they would tear it down in the next 3 weeks.
Soon. Lynn, remind me why we're dealing with a project that is owned by KU Endowment.
Well, KU Endowment is a property owner like any other property owner. They are not the University of Kansas and subject to the state law from the Historic Preservation Office and the Campus Historic Preservation Board. This property is within the city limits. It is not state-owned. The Regents do not own it. The endowment does. And so it has to comply with the city ordinances, and one is the context area of the Omega House.
Because I guess what I'm also trying to think of is what have been other examples of KU Endowment projects that have come before us, and I'm blanking on them.
We've had several in the past. We looked at the changes to the Alumni Center. We looked at the new construction of the Visitor Center. I think Stan may have even been on here when we did the, right beside the Union. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Water.
Cultural?
Yes, the Sabatini Cultural Center.
No.
So, I mean, we have done that in the past. We have reviewed their projects.
All right, I'm just...
And the city does have an agreement with KU about which projects get what kind of review, and because this one was not included on the map that goes with that document is another reason it's being reviewed.
And I guess a related question is, I'm not sure I understand, again, the historic, you're mentioning that the project's in the context area of the Chi Omega House, which I didn't think was city-owned historic property. Do you see what I mean? I'm still kind of confused about why we're dealing with this.
It's not city-owned.
So it's on the local register?
It's on the
local?
It's on the national register, but you're reviewing it because it's on the Lawrence Register of Historic Places.
Because the land on this particular project, as I think I saw in here, was that it was empty through 1927. So, I mean, the site itself has been empty ground for a long time, before the 60s when it became commercial.
Well, and I think we have an earlier construction date by that.
1948.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I meant, 1948. It's the 20th century is when it got built. But it was empty land before then. Okay.
Lynn, what's the zoning on the property?
I would have to check. Is it the mixed use?
Okay.
I think is it
M3?
M3?
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Are you representing the owner?
Yeah, you can answer all the questions.
My name's Monty Sokup. I'm with the KU Endowment Association. Since the report has been written, we have actually hired PGAV Architects out of Kansas City as our designer. We've already met with the School of Business once. So we have a design process going on. We're at the very, very beginning of it. And we fundraised over $10 million for this project. So we have funding. We literally, if this is approved tonight, we'll pick up our demolition permit tomorrow. We're waiting on this approval to get so everything else has been done there. And we literally could potentially start on Monday or Tuesday of next week, as soon as we get the site fenced and those kind of things. And the idea is to get the building down before students arrive. Everything that is just an incredibly busy intersection, and really for the safety of the students and the public is really our intent. That's what we want to try to get done. And then we will move forward with this project. That's not a question in my mind at all. So because we're funded, we've already hired an architect, already signed a contract literally today for the demo to get that going. So
I have two questions for you. What does the ground look like after demo, before the building's built, and then what's the schedule for the design and when it might come to us?
So we would plan to take everything out basically up to the sidewalk and then leave that fenced, and leave the sidewalk and pedestrian areas intact so we don't impact that, because it is a busy corner. But basically everything behind that would come out, foundations, everything. There's really not anything that's reusable there.
Are you taking out the parking lot behind also?
We would probably leave that very north parking lot. We don't have the design done, so I don't know if that would come or go ultimately, but we would probably leave that in the short term.
Gotcha.
And from a schedule standpoint, we've literally started last week, the design process. I would guess that will go 6 to 8 months maybe. And then you have a 2-month period to get, once you have drawings done, it takes 2 months to get a permit through the city, if you're lucky. And then we may be starting construction sometime in 26. So I would say that, we would have, that site would probably be vacant less than 12 months would be my guess. Estimate.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
One more question.
Yeah, sure.
I just remembered a question for Lynn. Is this property in the context area of the Mullen House?
No, it's only in the context area of the Calmega house.
Okay.
So, Lynn, I have a question also. So the demolition permit is only for the building, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It is an interesting building. We really looked hard at trying to reuse it. The original building's about half the size of the old building, and it's load-bearing masonry walls. So you have all these interior load-bearing walls and 3 different floor heights on the main floor. It's a disaster of a building. So we did look pretty hard. I think we included some of the study material that we looked at, and it just doesn't work.
We have fond memories of paying a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Right. Drinking lots of coffee.
I know you've just started the design process. You have a rough idea of the size of the building that you're aiming
there
for?
is certainly a limitation on, just from a code standpoint. I think my guess right now is 20 to 25,000 square feet. 25 would be on the high side.
Yeah.
I think we can get maybe a 10,000 square foot floor plate and 2-story building. I think from a massing standpoint, it won't feel a lot different.
Will you be required to provide parking in M3? I can't remember.
We'd have to meet the city. We'll either have to meet the city's zoning requirements for that zoning and parking.
Yeah.
And I'll let Avery chime in if, because she's better at this than me, but the new code, we don't have required parking, we have maximums.
Maximum, yeah.
And so they should be able to
Okay.
go through the
Okay.
planning process with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it will be an academic use, so there wouldn't be, you know, it's not like it's going to be retail
Right.
kind of thing there. It's going to be an academic building for the University of Kansas. So we won't have the kind of pull-up traffic like you would have at McLean's, right?
Do you have a sense of what kind of academic, like a center of some kind, or what?
It's going to be an entrepreneurship hub.
Oh, okay.
So the University of Kansas School of Business has an entrepreneurship program. It's currently housed in Capitol Federal Hall.
Oh, right.
It is growing at a high rate, and 70% of the students in that program are not School of Business students. So they decided, because the School of Business is growing, they decided they wanted to move this program out of the School of Business, actually, because of that mixed use. So there'll be, you know, I'm going to say it's a college and the engineering school, or a couple of the other primary students that are involved in that program. So they wanted to try to get a more central location up on campus and kind of unrelate it to the School of Business, if you will, because they want those students outside of the School of Business. So we looked at multiple sites and ultimately landed on this, purchasing this site. And
Thank you.
yeah.
Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, we see none. I'm really excited to see the new building design.
I am too.
I might see somebody from PGAV on the line here. But I'm sure he doesn't have anything to share, so. All right, well, commissioners, what do you think? It's always been, you know, in the last, what, 50, almost 50 years? It's been a building that has had its facade concealed because of the Jayhawk Bookstore addition, which if you wait a little longer would maybe be historic. I think it was built in the 80s, I don't remember.
Well, but then
81
was
was the-
remodeled by McLean.
Oh.
yes.
The Jayhawk Bookstore remodel.
That's
Was
right.
replaced with the McLean's remodel.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the language. I can't find it.
It's on page 1 of the,
Yeah, odd.
or 2, yeah, 1, 2, on page 2 of the item. Well,
So I, just as a discussion point, I think it's worth saying that it's uncommon for this board to approve demolitions without reviewing a design. I think this has some extenuating circumstances. You know, you really don't want, I mean, I would rather have enough time to review the design and have some significant input on that and not have that process hold up and cause demolition to either occur when school's in session or have to wait until Thanksgiving or Christmas or, you know, some time when students are gone. So I think it's important to note that this isn't a precedent for other projects. We're reviewing this as an individual situation.
agreed, and it is a very busy corner that, if you close that corner, I don't,
Oh,
kind of have to go all the way around the city.
around the whole campus to get to where you, yeah, it's nuts. I can't find the language.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what Commissioner Hernley said. And that is why I'm making a motion to find that the proposed project meets the standards of review in Chapter 22, Section 22507, and Section 22508C3B, and issue the certificate of approval for the proposed project.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Buchanan,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
Aye.
Commissioner Hernley,
Aye.
and Chair Coleman is an aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. All right. Now we are finished with all the public hearing items. Miscellaneous items is next.
I mentioned to you, and we were going to talk about it last month, but we didn't have our meeting, that there was a serious issue with the property at 1007 Rhode Island Street. So much so that staff went to the State Historic Preservation Office. They did an emergency state law review, and we invoked the emergency clause in Chapter 22 to do the certificate of approval, and hopefully we're trying to get that structure down. It had a tree fall on it from the storm last night that made one whole wall of the structure collapse. It is very dangerous, and so that is why you are seeing that information, so that you know the reasons that staff invoked that emergency clause to go ahead and have this all reviewed and ready to go as soon as possible.
Wow, just last night, huh?
It was one of the worst structures I have been in,
Yeah.
and that's saying a lot for me. And I was with two incredibly
Sure.
preservation-minded people, and we sat there going,
Yeah, it's right.
we couldn't come up with anything on, to rehab it. It would literally have to be rebuilt, and you would have to use new brick because the old brick is scored. So,
Wow, yeah. Okay, so you don't need any action from us, right?
no action, it's just
Okay.
that you receive it.
Information, yeah.
It's too
Thank
bad.
you.
Thank you.
Will the replacement structure come
The
here?
replacement structure should be on your next agenda.
Okay, I will be out of the room for that.
Yes, you will.
Can I talk about one other thing?
Well, I think
Are we
we
done?
have a motion. Don't we need to elect our new commissioner architect to the architectural review?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I move that we elect Commissioner Hernley to the Architectural Review Committee.
Second,
Commissioner Buchanan,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
aye?
Chair Coleman's an aye. Commissioner Hernley,
Aye.
thank you. Okay, now you can.
So I just wanted to mention the University Place survey is underway. And the first, there's going to be a series of 5 public interactive sessions. The first one of those is an introductory kind of session, and it's happening on Saturday this week at 10 o'clock at 1100 Rhode Island, the Hernley Associates office. We were going to have it we weren't able to arrange for meeting at the Lawrence High School. That's typically where the neighborhood meets, but other meetings in the future we'll try to get the high school lined up. But so if anybody is interested in seeing that process, show up. We'll have some coffee and donuts and information. So, thank you.
And staff is really excited about this project. It's the one that the commission supported seeking the grant for, and the State Historic Preservation Office put money in for educational sessions that the consultant's going to do in conjunction with the Lawrence Preservation Alliance. They are actually providing most of the match for this grant, and hopefully The first one is really geared toward the survey, but we're hoping that the middle ones can reach out a little bit more, and we're hoping that they get videotaped and we can have them available for other people to use and to have as a resource. So we're pretty excited about the project and the way it's turning out.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other items? No? Okay, well then, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.